A very good morning to all. On behalf of Kekiva Polytechnic and Information Technology Department, I welcome you all for the 3 days national level faculty development program on data science using Python. For today's inauguration function, we have Mr. Amar Thakre as a chief guest and Mr. Tushar Kute as a speaker. I welcome both of you for today's program. Now I request our HOD, Ms. MS Karande Madam, to preamble the program.
A warm good morning to all of you. Respected Mr. Amar Thakre sir, and today's our resource person, Mr. Tushar Kute, and all the dear participants who have enthusiastically participated in FDP. I, MS Karande, on behalf of IT Department, KK Polytechnic, welcome you for this 3-day online national FDP on data science using Python. Let me tell you something about Kekewak Polytechnic. Kekewak Polytechnic has been in the educational field from a lot of years, and it is a premier institute. And I'm very delighted to tell you that recently our 4 branches has been accredited for 3 years, and IT department is one of the department which has received NBA accreditation for 3 years. So every year we arrange a lot of programs to benefit the faculties and our students. So this FDP is arranged in this direction to facilitate the faculties which are working in polytechnic, engineering, and all other organizations, whichever has participated in this FDP. See, this year was quite unusual, like the other years. Every year, we faculties strive to benefit our students, isn't it? And for that, we faculties, we could consider ourselves as a lifelong learners, and we are supposed to learn new technologies in our IT industry, so that even if one of the faculty learns a new thing, he or she definitely benefits all the students which are studying under him or her. So this 3-day FGP, I won't say that it would cover all the things that are mentioned under data science, but this is, you can say it is a starter, so that the faculties will just acquaint themselves with this new technology, and depending on his or her interest, they may explore the details of this particular field. So I welcome all of the faculties, and let us join together so that we work in collaboration and explore this new field of data science. So with this brief introduction, I once again welcome you all, and let us begin with our remaining program. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. Now, I would like to take the opportunity to introduce today's chief guest, Mr. Amar Thakre. Mr. Amar Thakre is MD and CEO at Sky Cyber Ambassador Private Limited and Lumiverse Solutions Private Limited. He is empaneled with CID EOW Maharashtra Police, Nashik City. He has solved more than 350 cybercrime cases and done more than 120 cyber audits in corporate and banking sector. He has also conducted more than 860 workshops, seminars, lectures on cybersecurity training and awareness. He has been working on various posts like Secretary for Nashik Information Technology Association, Joint Secretary MCCIA Pune, Cyber Security Trainer in Shivaji University Kolhapur, Cyber Security Consultant in Nashik, and for Maharashtra and Gujarat Police, IBM Cyber Security Trainer, and many more. We are very fortunate to have such an experienced personality for today's program. I now request Mr. Amar Thakre sir to address today's session.
Thank you so much for giving this opportunity. आताच्या या सगळ्या काळामध्ये मेन महत्वाची गोष्ट जो आत्ताचा FDP डेटा सायन्सच्या रिलेटेड जो केकेवाग मी घेतलाय, तर हा किती इम्पॉर्टंट आहे त्यासाठी सगळ्यात महत्वाची इम्पॉर्टंट जी प्रोसेस आहे ती म्हणजे आत्ता होत असलेले बदल, AIML च्या रिलेटेड लागणारा जो डेटा सायन्सचा पार्ट आहे. पण सगळ्यात इम्पॉर्टंट म्हणजे ह्या 2020च्या काळाने आपल्याला एक महत्वाची गोष्ट शिकवली की आपण स्टुडंटसाठी जे काही करत होतो म्हणजे फिजिकली कॉलेजमध्ये जाऊन जे काही त्यांना ट्रेनिंग देत होतो किंवा कॉलेजमध्ये शिकवत होतो, तर तो एक काळ बदलला आणि एक झूम किंवा ऑनलाईनचा काळ आला. तर ह्या सगळ्या काळामध्ये सुद्धा केकवाग कॉलेजने मुलांना टीच केलं आणि परफेक्टली त्यांना पुढे घेऊन गेले. त्याचबरोबर जर टीचर्सनी पण कंटिन्युअसली असं जर शिकत चाललं, कंटिन्युअसली लर्न करत चाललं, तर नवीन नवीन गोष्टी अजून जास्त इम्पॉर्टंट होतील आणि त्याच्यावरती आउटपुट येऊ शकेल. सो मुझे सिर्फ ये बोलना है कि ये सभी चीजों के लिए ये सभी जो चीजें हो रही है अभी के लिए कि पाइथन और एआईएमएल जो है उसका परफॉर्मेंस बहुत अच्छा आगे स्टूडेंट्स के लिए हो सकता है। हर एक प्रोजेक्ट के लिए काम आ सकते हैं। हमने अभी डिफेंस के लिए जो भी प्रोसेस कर रहे हैं, 2 साल से हम कुछ प्रोजेक्ट्स बना रहे हैं, उसमें भी हमने एआईएमएल का प्रोसेस यूज करके हम उसको प्रोसेस कर रहे हैं। तो मेरा ये मानना है कि केकेवाग कॉलेज ने जो अभी एफडीपी रन किया है वो एफडीपी बहुत अच्छे तरीके से जाएगा, हर एक स्टूडेंट्स को वो कामयाब बनाएगा, आपको भी वो आगे लेके जाएगा। तो थैंक यू सो मच कि आपने ये प्रोसेस अभी के लिए चालू किया और मैं ये इनॉग्रेट कर रहा हूँ। थैंक यू सो मच। यस,
So much, sir. Now we will formally inaugurate our FDP.
Can you start AV?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Now I take the opportunity to introduce Mr. Tushar Kute, the speaker of our 3 days FDP. Kute sir has completed his bachelor's degree from COEP Pune and master's degree from MIT Aurangabad. He is having total 15 years of experience in the field of education. He is currently working as data scientist and researcher in MITU Research Pune. And he is also a chief panel of editors and author at Prakrut Prakashan Pune. He is also working as visiting faculty at MIT Academy of Engineering Anandi, Pimpri Chinchwad College of Engineering Pune, IIEBM, Symbiosis Pune, and so more. He has written various books on technical subjects like core Java programming, a practical approach, bits and bytes, Python programming in Marathi and Hindi language. He has developed various learning resources for various technical subjects. He has done research in various areas like data science, machine learning, IoT, big data, and so on. He is a member of various professional bodies like Computer Society of India, International Association of Engineers, Asian Council of Science Editors, Vishwa Marathi Parishad, Marathi Vignan Parishad, and so more. We are very fortunate to have such a eminent personality for our FDP. I welcome you, sir, on behalf of Information Technology Department, and I request you to continue the session.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot. Thanks for the introduction. And first of all, I welcome all for this FDP. And good morning. So, as you're knowing the agenda of the session already, I'll just take an overview of it, what exactly we are going to learn throughout the sessions. The name of this FDP is Data Science Using Python. So, obviously, we are implementing the concept of data science using a Python programming language. And maybe if you're knowing or not knowing, I don't know, but we are starting from the basics of Python first, how exactly the Python programming is actually structured. May have heard about it, may have done some practice about it. But the basics inside, practical insight, which are required to understand the Python that we are going to see in this session. And after that, we are going to see the concept of data analytics first, what exactly data analytics means, data visualizations are, and then how exactly the machine learning concepts are implemented with the help of Python as a part of data science by using the predictive analytics. Okay, that we are going to see in this 3 days FDP. So today, my complete focus will be on the Python programming language, how it is exactly structured, how to execute different kind of programs, different syntax which are used in Python to write the programs, maybe data structures, functions, and the most important thing is object-oriented programming. How to do that one? That also we are going to see. I'll show the things practically in all these sessions. Today, my focus will be on Python programming language. Tomorrow, we'll see data analytics, the visualization part, how to do again with the help of Python, how to make a setup, how exactly it is implemented, that thing that we will see step by step. And on last day, we'll see predictive analytics in data science, how because this is very important part to understand. The project that we work, even industrial is actually working on different project data science. They're working predictive analytics. Okay, are having some data, and with the help of that, we are going to perform the predictions on that. So we call it the machine learning there. Okay, so all that things we will see in this 3 day session practically. Uh, I'll start from the setup itself, how exactly the things are there. If you are having any questions or doubts, so you can put that in the chat box also, or at the end of the session at 12:30 p.m. We'll have a question answering session. That time also you can ask. Okay, so let's start. First of all, I'll get introduced. We'll introduce with the Python programming language, how exactly it is structured, and practically, if you want to write a program, so how do you execute it? Don't worry if any one of you are not aware about the programming language. It's not compulsory that you have to you must have a knowledge of Java or C or C++ like that. It's not required there. Many people in the team where we are working with, so they are also not knowing programming languages, but they are knowing Python only. Python is a special category of programming languages. Now today, whatever programming language we have, almost they are interpreter based languages. And if you want to write the program, the similar way, similar structures are present there. I'll show that demo also, how multiple languages are actually working in the same way. So if you are learning a Python, it will be beneficial for you to write the program in other languages also. Remember that. So let's start it. I'll share my presentation, and then we'll see exactly where the Python is standing. We'll take a quick overview of it, and then we'll go for implementation with practical things. Okay, just a minute. Okay. So see, so let's talk about world of Python programming. What exactly the Python is standing today? What are the importance of it? Some statistics also I've included in this particular presentation. So that statistics also will play a very important role to understand why you learn Python actually. Yeah. The world of Python. Now, remember one thing that you might have heard about, like Java programming language, which is very popularly used programming language from last 25 years. Java was developed in the year 1990s. Okay, in 1990 it was developed, and after the development, when it was getting implemented with the help of the developers in the industries, so it started growing, and it was continuously the number one choice for all the developers, programmers in the industries to create any kind of applications. The reason is that in 1990s, in the same period, the internet was started, and the complete support of internet-based programming was there to the Java programming language. That was the reason why Java was growing. As the internet was growing, Java also growing. Today, also, more than 82% websites in the world are powered by Java. Okay, completely, they are at least some kind of support they are having with the Java, and remaining others are actually not having a support of it. Just you can identify that what important that Java carries. But from again last 10 to 12 years, now the importance of data is taken. Okay, so most of the data which is collected in the IT industry, they have identified that where to store that data and what to do with that particular data. So again, different algorithm arises. And now data science contains all of these algorithms. Okay, so with the help of these particular algorithms, we can perform lot many kind of operations. Okay, that is what the rise of data science. So the term data science actually created in 2008. Means it's not that much older. In 2000, it's almost 12 years ago it was created, and now it is again started implementing with different languages. So R was the first language with which it was implemented, and then from 2014 onwards, different more languages have come, and with the help of that, now data science technologies are now getting uh, implemented in actual industry or the projects over there. Okay, but as data science started growing in 2010 or 2012 onwards, then Python programming language started growing along with this because of many reasons. See, okay, it was created by Guido von Rossum in 1990. So Guido von Rossum was a developer. Just a minute. Okay, so in 1990s, Python was created, and it is actually gained a proper popularity in last 4 to 5 years because of rise of technologies like data science. So data science is the technology which has given the boost to Python, and now in almost every area, Python is getting used. Why? Because of many reasons again, they are present, which is made Python one of the best programming language to use. What are the reasons there? See, it is free and open source. You can directly download Python programming language from the net, and we can now, with the largest community programming languages up there, where we can answer to almost all kind of the questions present there. Then amazing community. It is object oriented programming language. Everything in Python is an object. So I'll show you how exactly it is. Everything is object there. Okay, so see, these are the common features that Python is having. It is actually differentiating other languages also. Easy to use, easiest language I thought, because when I started learning from C, C++, Java, and now to Python, it's not that much difficult to understand, and many concepts are common. If you're not having knowledge of previous languages, then also you can easily use it. Expressive, just like English language statements or mathematical expressions, directly they are used in Python as it is. Free and open source, no license is required. It's designed using C programming language, and its interpreter is available open source online also. High level language, portable. So portable and platform independence also. So irrespective of any operating system, it just can execute the code anywhere. Object oriented, 100% OP language, just like Java also 100% OP. Here also Python also 100% OP. Everything in Python is an object. Extensible. If you want to connect the program from other languages in Python, it's possible to integrate it very easily. Embeddable, you can write hardware codes also using Python. Interpreted, step-by-step execution is done. Large and largest actually standard libraries required will be available in Python. You can directly use it. Now almost in every area of development, Python is getting used because of this highest library present over here. GUI programming, you can design easy, effective graphical user interfaces using Python. 22 different ways are there by which the Python graphical user interface are possible. And it is dynamically typed. It is interpreter based actually. That's why it is dynamically typed programming language. So dynamical type means you don't have to decide the data type of a variable previously. It is automatically taken as you proceed further with writing the programs there. I'll just show you some of the statistics now. Just look at it. See, that is top 10 programming languages from 2004 to 2020. Here Python is number one language. Okay. Next. This is Google search trends given by Statista. The most popular programming language in the world. Check again, Python is number one language. It's taken from Statista. And if you go to qz.com, the most valuable programming skills to have on a resume. Here also Python is number one. Then Business Broadway's research, top 3 programming languages popular among data scientists. Number one is Python, second is SQL, third is R. This is coding infinite. Okay. Top languages according to Infinite, Python number one language here, second Java, then next. See, Stack Overflow, you might have heard about. Stack Overflow gives technical answers to answer to every question that you put over there. So Python is number one language here also. This is IEEE Spectrum. Check again. Okay. GitHub. Top machine learning languages on GitHub. IEEE Spectrum Marketability Survey. Here also Python is number one. Data science, Quora. So here also number one. So everywhere, this is coding job, Python. Growing actually, 41, then 46, then 61, then 73, like that. According to the years, it is growing. Scan.com, Python 29.9, Java 19.1. See, data science coffee, Python number one here, then R, then other languages are there. Okay, so many such things are there that Python is contained. That's why it is required. Not only data science, but in every area it is basically used. And if you compare this language with other languages, so you just can check it out. Python does not contain semicolons, no curly braces, no static typing. Wherever C and C++ and Java is having that. Compilation, no. Directly execution of the code is done step by step. And object-oriented programming, which contains classes, inheritance. Okay, they are present, available here in Python also. Okay, in Java, C also is present. This is the most important part to remember. Why we choose also. So not only data science, but all kind of development we do in with the help of the Python programming language here. So just look at it here. Two kind of languages I have shown. The first is dynamically typed languages, which are interpreter based, and second is static type languages. For example, if you want to execute a code, any simple code for which requires to write in Java with 16 hours are required to execute or code, write the code basically. That just like that, C++ requires 11 hours to code. C requires 9 hours to code, and Python, check the Python. Python requires only 2 hours to code that particular thing. This is what the minimum amount of time is required to write the program. That's why again Python is chosen. One of the main reason why this is a language chosen for almost all kind of technological development today. Let's see the first program, that is Hello World. Check out this code. In this particular program, C requires at least 5 lines to execute the Hello World code. Then Java requires 7 lines to code, and you can see in Python only single line is required there to print Hello World when you write the first code. Okay, check it out. This is how the length of the code is very less. Okay, one code I have written there is called as coding web crawler. So in the web crawler, see two different codes I have just shown over here. The first code is written in Java, second code is written in Python. So output of both of these codes are same, but if you compare the length of the particular program, so Python is almost only 25% lines are there in Python programming language, and that's what the minimum number of lines are required to execute your program. That's why this is one of the main language chosen for the development there. Okay, many applications are almost in all areas Python is getting used, and the most important part is this. This is what the companies which actually uses Python for coding, and almost many of them are using data science, machine learning, deep learning, AI application there. If you consider about Facebook internally uses their automated tagging features to they have written this particular APIs in Python. Google also, Google search engine uses YouTube's video search. They are also coding using Python programming language. Distributed processing is used. Or if you consider about NASA, so NASA is also using Python for their internal development. Just like in last year, they have taken a picture of a black hole, and that was complete coding. Complete coding of that black hole was done in Python programming language. Time. Okay, and if you consider about others like Amazon actually uses AWS. That is their largest cloud. They also use Python for coding there, and more than 75% applications which these companies are using, they are connected with the data science. Okay, data science. So using data and performing any operations onto it. That's why. Okay, remember. So this is what the basic overview of Python is. Now let's go for practical implementation. I will share two websites first. Okay, one more is the third. So just try to remember it. You just can have this idea to use the Python in future. Okay, just a minute. So see the first official website of Python. Yeah, this is the official website of Python, python.org. The python.org is created by Python Software Foundation, PSF. It's an open organization which develop Python with no profit, no loss, like kind of idea is there. Okay, so on that they have created this, and if you want to use the Pythons, you have to visit this website, download Python interpreter, and you can use it. I just go here, downloads, and here in Windows, you click on that. I am not using Windows, I'm using Linux. So by default, Linux operating system contains the Python interpreter inside it. Okay, so it's required to download also. Sometimes it is upgraded versions available. Check it. Check this website. Currently, Python 3 is 3.9.1 version of Python is available here. So you can download it. And okay, if I click on that, see 3.9.1, it will open another site. If you go to end of this particular page, okay, so check it out. See here, here all the installers only Windows 10 will be required. It's upgraded version of it. And if you're using Linux, so any flavor we can use on Linux operating system with current versions of it. Okay, you have to upgrade it, then only, because maybe I have seen that problem anytime they ask for this DLL files, that service packs, something like that. So you need to upgrade your operating system, then only it is possible to install it. Once you install, then how exactly it looks like, how to proceed with that, how to go step by step, that also we'll see. Okay, so this is already I have done. So I just shown the link. You can check out the link of it. This is the link, python.org. Go to downloads option, and then which release you want. Even previous release also you can. 3.6 onwards, all the flavors are available. I'm using 3.8. 3.5, which was released before 3.9.1. Okay, so this is how the Python can be downloaded. There is one more website that I'll show you. Let's see. As I told, large standard libraries present in Python. So where the standard library is actually available with. Okay, standard library is actually available on the website. Okay, pyp.org. This is Python package index. See this one, pypi.org. Find, install, publish Python packages with Python package index (PPI). External libraries in Python can be downloaded from this site. Okay, at the end of today's session, I'll show you how to download it, because tomorrow we'll require that for data analytics and the visualization part there. See, you just can check out this number. How many libraries are present? That is 2,80,036 current external libraries we can install in Python. Internally also sub libraries are present inside it. They are open source, openly developed. Anyone can use it, anyone can download it, anyone can redistribute it. Like all the features of FOSS, free and open source softwares, are applicable to it. You can download and you can install. See, this is what the world of Python is. It will take almost 2 to 3 years to learn everything about Python. But we need to focus on the part which is required for our point of view, that is data science. Okay. So check this. These are the 2,80,000 packages are present, and below to that you can see many different current releases being project the releases we mentioned over here. Check this. Okay, so from this we can download. Okay, there is one more way that we can use Python. Just check, this is website anaconda.com. So remember, Python and Anaconda, they are the connected words. Anaconda is modified Python. Next version of it. So this is anaconda.com. So tomorrow I require that. Basic for Python programming also, this is what we can use. Anaconda is a Python installer actually. If you want to work with any Python application development, so we can download the Anaconda. So you can see data science basically is created for data science application design, and many different packages, libraries, support that we require to work with data science present in Anaconda. It also contains IDs. You might be knowing your NetBeans, Eclipse IDs are there. Likewise, we having IDs. IDs also we can use. So in Anaconda, two IDs are there: Spider and Jupyter Notebook. Anyone can be using Jupyter Notebook actually. That one's also. And with that, some more IDs like Python is present. That Visual Studio Code can also be used. Visual Studio Code I prefer for web development using Python. Jupyter prefer by data science applications in Python. Many reasons are there why to choose that one. Coding is same. Only the integrated development environment, the IDE editor or that we use, only that is different here. So this also you can download. It's freely available actually, but if you want to purchase for organization, so you have to pay for that. Remember, if you want to use for organization, you have to pay for that. Else for single copy, single person, it is freely available. Okay, so this also we can use. Now, after the installation is over, when you complete the installation, after that you will get an idle, a default ID. Python Software Foundation is giving one default ID to you, called as idle, and after installation of it, that idle will be installed. And if you go to your start window and if you type idle, okay, so it's just like this. And check this out. Wait a minute. Yeah, see this. Okay, so this kind of window will be present in front of it. This is your Python's default IDE present, IDE, where all the task of editing or interpreting, compiling will be done in single window, single software. That's why we call it as IDE. Idle is the name given to it by Python Software Foundation, where we can write the Python's code, we can execute and immediately see the output. Now, Python is interpreter-based language. Maybe if you have used an interpreter-based language or not, most of us, maybe most of the time, we are familiar with compiler-based languages only, like C, C++, and Java. Compilers. We write the code, we execute it. So we compile it. We got an executable file. If you consider C, C++, we got a .exe file, and in Java we got a class file. Okay, and we execute that. The two stages are there. We compile it and then we execute it. But in Python, we directly get execution there without creating any intermediate file there. Okay, so advantage is that interpreter-based programming languages can execute single line of code also. Single line, only single line can also be executed, and Compiler based languages, they require the whole program to write and then execute it. Okay, that's what the difference that they carry. So Python is interpreter based. So advantage is that single line of code also we can execute, and whole program also we can write and execute. Okay, that's why Python is it's like two ways are there by which we can execute your code. So the three greater than symbol that you see here on the screen, this is what we call as Python shape, and it's an interpreter mode where we can execute the program step by step. So one program we have seen already, that is printing hello world. So let's see that. So I'll write print and hello world. Okay. So single line of code. I don't require anything to write here above, below, like main and curly braces, start, end, nothing. Print hello world. So this is a single execution, single statement that you have written. We can execute that and you can see the output of that particular program on the screen here. This is called as interpreter mode. And if you want to go for the mode, which is editor mode, write the whole program, then execute it. That also it is possible. I'll just go to the file menu here. Check this here in file menu. New file. We'll get an editor window here where we have to write your code of your Python, just like, see, for example, print hello world. Okay, not only single line, you can write a multiple lines also. See, print type welcome. Okay, and I'll save this code. Okay, so I press Ctrl S, which is a very common shortcut key. Okay, I'll write a name hello. By default, the extension that they carry is .py. You can check it out. .py is the extension to save this file. So save. Okay, already present there. Yeah, saved. And now here the file name is appearing. Check it out. Hello.py. Okay, and if I have to run this, I'll just go to run. Shortcut key is there. F5. If I click on that, I can get the output on the screen. This is the default idle that Python programming language is having. We can use it and proceed further using that. And not only that, I'll show Jupyter Notebook tomorrow how exactly the Jupyter Notebook ID is used. So right now we are going to see step by step. So let's go for step by step in debugging mode. Try to understand the things. My prime focus will be on data structures, because from data science point of view, data structures are very important. Data structures and OP, these two things that you need to understand very clearly in Python. How to use the classes, object, methods, OP concept, and data structures, okay, which we use. So let's see. Let's go step by step. I'll get a complete overview of it, how exactly Python is different, how to write the program, how to proceed further. I'm having presentation with me, but many things are there in the presentation. It will take too much time. So the part which are very important to understand, that only I'll focus on, and then we'll see. We'll try to understand that particular topic here. Just a minute. I'll start my second presentation, which is basics of Python programming. This first Python program, like ending world, that we already seen, and as like every programming language contains its own set of identifiers, like variable names you provide, then variables, functions, classes. We provide the names by using A to Z uppercase, A to Z lowercase, and underscore, common characters. Special symbols are not allowed. I'll show you how to do this one. Along with that, we are having some reserved words also, which generally called as keywords. And these keywords are basically used for specific operations which are given by interpreter. Okay, so 33 keywords that Python is having. If you that is C, C++, and Java, C is having 32 keywords, C++ 48 are there, and Java 60 keywords are present. Python, we have 33 keywords. These keywords are dedicated for specific operation. You cannot change their meaning. We cannot use them as identifier variables names. So these are the keywords which we are using over here. 33 keywords are there. Out of that, first three keywords, first letter is capital, remaining others are in small case, lower case. So Python is case sensitive language. So make sure that if you are writing something in uppercase, lowercase, they are different. Okay, so they are the core Python concept contains these 33 keywords present over here. Now, how we declare the variables, how to declare the variables, and how do I use the variables? Let's see that. Okay, so let's go to your interpreter mode here. See this. Now, as I told, Python is dynamically typed language. It's for every kind of program, not only talking about data science. If you want to declare a variable, directly assign a value to the variable. Okay, directly assign the value to the variables. So variable will be created. See, num is equal to 67. If I write something, and if I want to print this num on the screen, I'll use print num. So see, 67 is printed. Now I have not declared that num. I have directly assigned the value to it. This is called a dynamic typing. Dynamically, data type is assigned as per the data you assign over there. So not like that. If I want to assign, see this. Previously, it is a full number, that is integer number. Okay. Now second, I have given decimal point now. This is called as a floating point number. Okay. Now data type is changed. Different type of data is stored over there. So it's not required to declare a data type. Okay, so you assign the value and use it. Okay, not like that only non-numeric, but if I want to store, okay, the string value, that also is possible. Check it out. Number is equal to num is equal to Tushar. So my name is stored inside it. That also stored as a string. So you can have characters also, but enclosed within a pair of quotes, single quote or double quotes. Okay, so both are same here. Doesn't matter if you use single quote or double quote, both are same. Okay, so make sure. So this is how the data types are actually used. So basically in Python, we are having 5 type of the data present there. 5 different type of the data are present that we can use it here. So let's see what different type of the data which are present. Numbers first. 3 type of the data we can store: integer, float, and complex. Generally, we use integer and float. Complex are very rarely used. We don't use it in data science actually. The fourth actually, it's a string type, which is present in a pair of singular double quotes called as a string. If you're knowing C and Java, same concept is there. But there we have double quote is string and single quote is character. In Python, character and string both are equal. We don't have a character type of the data. String itself is a character, character itself is a string. And the fifth one is Boolean, where you store true and false values inside it. Okay, the second part of data types is the collection type of the data. Collection, like if you knowing array, collection of the elements are present. So here in Python, we have list, tuple, set, and dictionary. Collection types are there, where we collect the data, and based on different properties we use that data there. Okay, after this presentation is over, I'll go to the data structures which we regularly require in data science applications: list, tuple, set, and dictionary. Small difference that they carry, that we need to remember. Accordingly, that they are used at different locations in the Python programming language. Okay, so these are the data types. If you have used integers like that, or if you want to use floating point, it's like this. Okay, we can use it. Okay, now there are some more features that Python programming language carries. Like for example, I want to declare multiple variables in single line. Check this way, I have written there uh, some of the useful shortcuts actually. They're the features that are present in Python with the help of that multiple variables can be declared. So in this example shown over here, num1, num2, num3 is equal to 12, 34, and 55. This one. So 3 variables are assigned here. Okay, and at a time 3 variables are declared. So I just printed num1, printed num2, printed num3. See, in single line declaration, and it's not compulsory. All should be having same type. So different types, the combinations of different types are also possible there. Okay, that also we can use it. And if you want to declare multiple variable with the same value, so check it out. Num1, num2, num3 is equal to 27. Okay, so all 3 variables are declared with the same type. Likewise, so you can just write the code and see this one. I'll just show you this one, how to declare the variables. So for this particular case, yeah, I'll just open my Linux terminal here because it will be easy for me to write the code in Linux terminal. And same kind of interpreter is present. See, I'll just show you a screen here. See this. So this is my Linux terminal. If I type Python 3, I'll get the same interpreter there. No different changes are present. So you can check this out also. See, this is Python's interpreter. So it's easy to clear and use many shortcuts of Linux. That's why I prefer this one. Okay, check it out. A, B, C. Small and important features like this can declare. And if I want to write the whole program, so for example, I want to perform addition of 2 numbers. Okay, so let's declare 2 numbers first. Num1 is equal to 56, num2 is equal to 44. Okay, and then expression, this is expression, and operators. See, simple operators, and then I'll print the result. Then 100. The first number declared, second number is declared, then I perform addition of them and I got the result on the screen. Okay, so these statements are not ended with semicolon, nothing. Wherever you press enter, there the code is completed. Okay, and if I want to write all the particular lines on single line, that also is possible. Check it out. If I write num1, then give a semicolon here, num2, okay, 54, then result is equal to num1 plus num2, okay, something like this, and then print result. Something is missing. Sorry. It's a semicolon, the comma. Yeah, say this. All lines are written in single statement. This is what feasibility that the Python programming language has provided to us. Practically, it's very easy and handy kind of coding that Python is providing over here. Okay, so shortcut methods are also used, semicolon operator. Now, if you go to the strings, the third kind of the data, so we can declare the string, okay, just like this. Okay. For example, name is a variable where I declare the name in single quote, and I want to print my name. See, string. If you want to write in double quote, it also is a string. See, and if I enter something like this, then also it is a string. So anything that you enclose within a pair of quotes, single quote or double quote, it's called as a string. So just check it out. How exactly multiple things I have connected, combined in a pair of double quotes or single quotes. And if you use that, this is a string, anything. Generally, we prefer characters, that is letters, uppercase or lowercase letters to store in the string variable. Okay, so variables are declared, dynamically typed are there. And if you want to see the data type of that particular variables, we can use a function called as type. See, type of name. See. It's an object actually. As I told, everything is the object. So it's showing class string str. And if I want to change different type of the data, if 89 is there, and if you want to see type of the num integer, it is something like this, float. Okay, so these are the commonly used type of the data which we generally prefer to write in a Python programming language. Okay. Check this, 3 different type of the data, along with boolean is also used, but boolean is not that much used. Basically, we use in the conditions and the loop control statement that time they are required and easily used. Now let's go for the comment. Anything if you want to put in the comment, so comment means the statement which is ignored by the interpreter when you write the program. And in that program, if you want to ignore some kind of the lines, basically, so we generally prefer a comment to write over there. Okay, see, comment are started with hash. Okay, and after that, whatever you write, okay, that's not having any effect over there. If you write hash and anything that you want to write, so just write it there, execute. No error will be given by it. I'll just show you a simple program where we can write the comments. See this. Check it out. Yeah. Now for this particular program, let's write the first simple program here, hash. So that's my first program. Okay, hash I've given there, and after that I will declare my number 1 comma number 2 is equal to 78 comma 22. Okay, then result is equal to num1 plus num2, yeah, and then print it. Okay, it's like this, result comma complete it and result. The thing which I have written inside the codes will be printed as it is, like this, and which are out of the code, which is a variable is a name given to the memory location where we store some values inside it. This is called as a variable. So I have posted that variable here in print function, and result is equal to, okay, something, sorry, colon, and then result will be printed. So we know the answer, it is 100. When I run this code, check this, 100. In this way, we'll get the answer. Okay, this is the comment that we generate. If you want to write a comment here, just write addition comment, which is ignored by the interpreter. So comment forms very important part of the programming language when you have to write your own readable statements, informative statements will be following the comments to write. Okay, so in this way, the comments are written inside the Python programming language. Okay, remember that. And just if you go to use the functions, many functions are that we generally prefer to write with different kind of the objects here. Okay, so one shortcut method I'll just show you, which is required in data science applications also, very commonly. Now see, internally many functions are present in Python programming or any programming language. We have to go to a book, we can read that and we implement that, but without using a book also we can identify which methods or which functions I can use on the respective variable there. Let's see one small example I'll show you. I'm declaring the string variable here. Okay, and now I want to check that what methods functions I can apply on that particular uh, string variable here. So I need to check it out. So for that purpose, Python has given one facility, and that facility is a function actually which we can use here, like dir, and pass a variable name to it, just like name. You can see list of the methods functions are printed on the screen. These are the functions which I can apply on the string variable. They are the functions which I can apply on the string variable, and even their help also we can see. I'll just show a simple example here. See, the method name is written over, it's called as lower. Okay, so lower is the name of a function, name of a method which I can use on the variable name. How to do this one? Okay, see, name dot lower. See, I got the result in lowercase. So if I want to convert, I want to perform some operations onto it, I'm using that functions or methods. So it's just like that. Okay, similar to that, many more methods are there. You can see title, already it's in title case. Or if I want to swap case is also one of the method that I can use. See, swap case. Swap case. In this way, these functions are applied. So this is what we call an object. Object and swap case is a method. By default, everything is object, not only string, but for number, floating point, any variable that you declare, you have to use in this particular way. So in data science application also, we regularly use this kind of the method. Many objects are present, and you have to apply the methods. So we'll be making use of such methods onto it. I'll show one more, which may, for example, parameter. Let's start with yeah, starts with. Starting with T. Sorry, what's missing? Starts. T is remaining. False. Not starting with T, but starting with T. Yeah. True. And there is one more method called a replace. Dot replace U with OO. See, can get this. So any kind of operation you have to do on that object. So just search the method name with dir, pass the object, you can get it. Even many methods
Kute sir,
everything in the book. So just have to take the help
sir,
from and perform the operations like this. Okay, and even if you don't know how to use a method, so there are also one more function provided. It's called as help. See, help of name dot lower. So it will show what is the meaning of it. What's the meaning of it? Lower method. What it does? Returns a copy of string converted to lowercase. That's what the meaning of it. Or if I want to check the starts with. Okay. Oh, sorry. Again, yeah. What is the meaning of starts with method that we can see here? Like everything about help about every kind of method names is present already inside the Python. So you just have to search for that, which method I can apply, how to use it. Okay? That's also given with the help of the help method here. Okay, so remember this is how we can make use of it. Many string functions are present that we can use over here. Yeah. One most important advantage I'll show you about Python programming language. You might have heard about the concept of Unicode. Unicode is the coding system which is used by programming language or any software or even operating system also, by which the things can be used here. Means many different kind of things. Like if I want to use, just a minute, what's the problem? See, if you heard about the Unicode system, Unicode is just like the mechanism by which you store the data, you store the characters inside it. ASCII is one of the way. ASCII is a coding system where we can store the Roman characters inside it. Every Roman character like A, B, C, D, E till Z, all uppercase, lowercase, are given a special number. With the help of that, English character, Roman characters can be stored in the computer's memory by the encoding method of ASCII. Now today we are using Unicode, so characters from other languages also possible to embed inside this. That Unicode can store characters from any language in the world, not only English but any language in the world can be stored inside it. Python is supporting that. That's why in case of data science application, if you want to do analytics on any kind of the data around the world in any language, so we can do that analytics because Unicode support is provided over. I'll just show you how to use the Unicode support here. That Unicode support is just a minute. I'll share the things again. Yeah. Now see this. For example, if I'm storing s is equal to, and I want to store some character in by using code, I can save it. Just like ASCII, the Unicodes are there. ASCII is the sub part of the Unicode. Unicode is the extension to the ASCII basically. Now see. See, go to check this. Okay, this is a Devanagari character. Okay, and if I change the code again, see, okay, the Devanagari character is there. See, check it. These codes are used, and you can see the characters presented over there that we can directly use in the code. Not only that, if you want to use some other script, like for example, I go to see, this is presented in some other language. Check this. All the languages, including Chinese, Japanese, Russian, Arabic, all of the script we can use here in Python. That's why Python can be used to develop an application with any kind of language around the world because of this particular system there. So just you have to be familiar with typing in that particular language, so you can use that and store the value inside the character inside the string basically that we can use that further. Remember, that's what the Unicode concept is actually present over here. Remember this. Okay, now I'll share the things again. Now, every programming language contains the concept of operators. Operators means they actually perform some operations onto it. And commonly used operators are like arithmetic operator, relational, bitwise, logical. Okay, they are present in Python also. I'll just take a quick overview of all which are present here in Python. So if you stuck to a particular point, how to do that in Python, so that will be present in front of you. See the first category, arithmetic operators. In arithmetic operator, we have 7 different operators: addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, modular division, commonly is 5, okay, and 2 more, floor division, and the exponentiation, means power of operator, like this. See this one. If I want to do, I can do addition, now 1 plus 2, subtraction, multiplication, division, and this is floor division, means 2 operators are there. General division operator return the value in floating point format, and floor division returns into the integer format, and this is mod. Mod means remainder of the division, and one more is there. This is exponentiation, double star. Double star is used for raised to operation, raised to operation there. Okay, so I one small example I'll show you for exponentiation here. Just a minute. Let's see the screen again. Now, let's see. For example, I want to store x is equal to 12 raised to 2. Now see, 12 raised to 2, that is your 144, that is printed on the screen. See, x is stored with 144 now. You can see this, and that double star operator called a raise to operator. That's also we require in future. One more thing I'll show you. I'll extend this. See, a very big number is generated over here. So this is the feature of Python, is that Python does not contain any limitation to integer arithmetic. No limitations are there. Means any kind of number I can store into the variable, into the Python variable, any integer, not talking about others, any integer. So you can see a very big number generated over here. But if you compare that with other languages, okay, this is why NASA is using this one. There's no limitation to this integer there. So Java contains some limitation. 64-bit is the max number that I can have. And in C++ also 64-bit means long integer contains 64-bit. More than that, you cannot store any other number. Okay, the limitations are this. So here in Python, we are having only RAM is the limitation. RAM is full, the operation will be terminated. Okay, like that. So no inherent limit is present actually inside it. Okay, this is how we can check it out. Okay, if you go ahead, see, fill the screen. Full number is generated there. So no limitations are present for integer arithmetic in Python. Okay, so these are the variables, or these are the operators which are coming under the category of the arithmetic operators. Now let's go for the second kind of operator, that is relational operators. So they are common. When you have to compare something, we use less than, greater than, equal to, not equal to, and greater than, equal to, less than or equal to. Okay, just like this. See this one. Two numbers I have declared, number one, number two, greater than, less than or equal to, not equal to, like that. You can compare that. Okay, I'll show you how to use these operators. So they are used to compare the things. If, else, and while loop. Two locations are there where we generally use this operator to perform the operations with. Next, assignment of, and in C also extension to the arithmetic operators is there. Okay, just like that. See this one. So I have number one variable is present 25. If I want to add 2 into it, as plus equal to that, num1 is equal to num1 plus 2, like that. 2 is added inside it, and that is reflected. Okay, so this is what we call an assignment operator. So many assignment operators are present. We generally don't require it, but remember they are present over here. Just like that, we are having logical operators also, where we have to combine two conditions together. First also and second also. It is AND operator. So first also true, second also true, then the result will be true. Okay, if any one of them is false, the result will be false. Okay, and OR operator means first or second. Okay, so here we don't have AND and OR symbol here. So we are having AND keyword, OR keyword, and not is used to invert the condition. So true will become false and false will become true for the not, NOT. These are the keywords which are used to perform the same operation here. That also will require somewhere in the data analytics. And special categories there called as in operator. With the help of in operator, I can identify whether any element is present in a group of elements or not. In is, okay, I'll show you how exactly to use this one. This is also very regularly used in data science application design. Okay, so we'll go to the terminal again, Python terminal. See this. Okay, and now here I'll write a simple code, just like, for example, let's have Tendulkar. Okay, and I'll save this somewhere like in S, and I want to check whether what string is present inside this S or not, like Kar in S. Is this present? Yeah, it's present there. Okay, or you can just check it 10. Present in S? No, because T is capital there, that's why. Existence of an element inside another set of element can be said by using in operators. In data analytics, we require this operator very regularly. Inverse that we have not in operators also. So it is 10 is not present in S. False, because it is present there, so showing false. True and false, yes, no. This is the in membership selection operator that we use in data science. That's what we require. Okay, now let's continue. Yeah, this is bitwise operators. We don't require generally, but remember, bitwise ANDing, digital arithmetic, if you've learned about it. So bitwise ANDing, bitwise ORing, bitwise XOR, left shift, right shift, okay, that we can do with the help of this particular operators over here. Okay. Now, one important concept that is regularly used in Python is called a type conversion, or type casting also we call. Type conversion is automatically one type of the data is converted into another type of data. Out of it, we are going to make use of one common concept called as explicit type conversion, which is very commonly used in data operations here. Because if I want to make use of some features of a data structure, so that data should be present in that data structures, that category, then only it is possible to perform the operations with. So if you want to convert one kind of the data into another kind of the data, so we'll be making use of the typecasting or explicit type conversion we call. Let's see the example of using this one. There is two more concepts that we'll be learning from that. See, I'll store my name in the variable. Okay, so check it out. And if I want to multiply this by 4, okay, so first is a string, second is the number. This is a feature of string actually, that number of repetitions are created over here. Okay, correct. So now let's have a number. And if I multiply this number by 4, it is becoming 123, 123, 123, 123. So why it is done? Because that num is string. Actually, it's not an integer, it's a string. So multiply by 4, it's coming like that. Now here I need to, because data type of num is string now, but I don't want that. I want the actual multiplication by 4. So that num should be of numeric type. So let's see this. If I want to convert, so just have to make use of this. Okay, those who are knowing the concept in C++ and Java, this is just inverse of it. We write a round brackets to the data type. Here we write round brackets to the variable. It means that int is a function to perform this operation. See, 492. So 123 into 4, that is 492. That's what I answered. I got over here. Previously, it was not there. This concept we called as explicit type conversion or the typecasting, which is shown over here. See this. Okay. One more example. For example, I want to create a password by using two things combined together. Like, just a minute. Yeah. One more thing I'll show you. Name plus now. See. This is called a string concatenation. It's present in Java also. Two string can be connected together with the help of a plus operator. So first string plus second string, they are connected and we got the answer. See, it's called Tushar123. Okay, string are attached together because both of their data types are same. But what will happen if one of the data type is different? See, so I declared 123 here, but that 123 is in numerical format. It will show the error there. See this, a type error. Like this, number name is a string, number is the number, that is the integer. They cannot be connected together. Then what to do? So the thing to do is convert into string format. It's called a type casting, explicit type conversion. Okay, we are forcefully converting temporary actually for that particular expression, one type into another type, and then perform operation of concatenation here. Okay, say this one. This is how we can do this. This is a very important concept to understand. In future also, various data types which we use in Python, okay, they can be converted from one type to another type if the compatibility is maintained. Compatibility should be there. Means integer hello name cannot be converted in integer because it is not compatible. But 123 can be converted into string because it's compatible over here. That is how we need to understand, and this is typecasting, which we regularly require to convert one type of the data into another type. And one more thing, one more flexibility is present over here is that Python, not only single type, you can convert the collection type also. Okay, just like in array is a collection of element. I want that integer array to be in floating point array. It is not possible in Java and C also. But in Python, it is possible. Typecasting can be done on a collection of elements also. But all of these elements should be compatible with each other. Then only it is possible. Okay. So remember that. This is how typecasting is done. And let's go for writing a simple program. I'll show a simple program to take the data input, user input. We perform some addition operation, and then we'll proceed further to understand another concepts in the programming also. So let's check it. Just a minute, I'll share this screen also. Yeah, see this. Now I'll write a simple code, try to understand that. It's very easy to write actually. This is my first program. See this. So first number, I'll take from the user input. Typecasting I'm doing here. there's a function called as input, which is used to read the data from user. Enter the number. Okay. So this I'm reading the first number from the user, and okay, first number. So second number. Right, first here, and here second number. Second number. Okay. Then perform the addition of them. Result is equal to num1 plus num2. Okay, fine. And then printing it. So here we are taking the user input from the keyboard. Your in C or C++, whatever we have, you can write this statement separately. First ask and then enter. Now here I'm asking and entering both at the same time. Check the output. We'll go further to understand the concept. Okay. See this is executed. Asking user to enter the first number 45. Okay, enter second number 55. 100. Yeah, correct. So this is how first number is taken in num1, second number is taken in num2, added, result is generated, and result is printed. Okay, fine. So this is the way that we can write the code. Check this. Okay, first number. So input is a function to read the data from the user. Okay, and store it into num1 variable. Input again second number, num2 variable. Then we have perform addition of them. Then we have printed the result on the screen in this way. Okay, fine. So this is the way that we generally basic core concepts of Python should be known. Now let's go for the decision making statements. How to make use of if-else and how to perform operation with the loop control structures. Please share this presentation separately. So the common concept, common ideas that be well known. And it is possible to proceed further. Yeah, let's share this. Check this now. So in decision making, this is a common idea for every programming language to have. We can have if statement, if else statement present here in our system. In Python also it is present that we have to use. So many times in data analytics, we require to embed some conditions. We have to make use of these three keywords: if, elif, and else. Okay. So check out this. I'll show the program and then we'll continue further. I'll write a program to perform the addition, to check whether the number is negative or positive. Okay, so let's see that. So just simple idea of using this will be done here. Okay, so I'll modify the same code itself. Take the first number. Okay, any simple number. Take just some charts are there. Oh, output is not visible. Sorry. Just a minute. Let's see the output. I'll just show you the output. I think output not, because output window is different. That's why it was not visible. Okay, so let's see. Now I have executed it. Check the output window. See, first number I entered 67, second number 33. So that number will be entered and stored into num1 variable, and second number is num2 variable. And then you have done the addition of them, and then the result is printed on the screen. So okay, in this way. Okay. Yeah. Now let's continue with the operations. Okay, see, simple. So this is the if and else statement, which I'm adding the conditions now. Number is less than 0, condition, then colon is part of syntax, colon is present there. And after that, I have given a tab. It's automatically coming when using ID. But if it is not coming, it's compulsory required to have that. It means that this print statement is under if. Okay, if I want more than one print statement there, so just write like that. It's coming just below in the same column that is present there. Okay, let's go to print and goodbye. Okay, so positive. Okay, nothing. I'll not write anything there. Okay, so I'll ask to enter the first number. First number will be entered. will be stored into variable num, and then here the comparison of the data with 0 is done. Okay, checking less than 0, negative, else it is positive. Else means the condition is false, then it will go to the else part there. And let's see the output. I'm executing it. Yeah, executed. First number, sorry, number positive, correct. Okay, and if I execute it one more time, -3, negative, and goodbye, that is printed. Okay, so this is how we take the number and check the conditions here. One more thing is present here. If I execute this code and I pressed 0, see 0 is positive. Actually 0 is not having any symbol of negativity or positivity. Negative or positive is not there. It should be 0. 0 is 0. Okay, so how to do this one? Now here we will introduce with the third keyword, which is, just a minute. See this now. Now how this will complete the idea of if else. Elif. Elif means else if first condition not true, then we'll go for the second condition. Now num is equal to 0. If it is not less than 0, then if it is equal to 0 or not. So if it is equal to 0, then check this 0. If, elif, and else. Okay, so here the condition is checked, which is what we call as compulsory. Compulsory. This is not compulsory, optional, sorry, optional, and repeatable. Repeatable means any number of times elif can be written. If elif, and else. Okay, and this is only optional. Only optional means not repeatable also. Else is written only one time. If none of the above conditions satisfies, we'll go to the else part and we'll execute that things over here. Either number is negative, number is 0, or positive. Three possibilities are there. So if I have multiple possibilities, like I want to check whether the person is getting first class, second class, class, distinction, fail, like conditions are there. I can use this way. If elif, else, like this is how it should be used. Remember. Okay, I'll show the output of this code. Let's try that. See, so I'm entering, and here if I enter 0, now it is showing 0, else either positive or negative number will be there. So this is the syntax of the if, elif, and else part here. Okay, elif and else. Take this. Systematic structure, and one more thing that you need to remember, it should be containing this in the in column. For many structures we have in future also, that's required to understand, because many times when you start learning Python, writing a code of data science, we get indentation error everywhere, indentation error. Because if you change this, it will go indentation error. If any statement should be written, if you write any statement below that control, it should contain a tab. Okay. And if I write one more statement here, like print goodbye. Now, positive, along with positive, goodbye we also printed because they are in the same column. And one more thing, if I change this, it is out of the else. Remember, it is out of the else. Now it is under the else. Okay, this is what systematic approach followed by Python, and everyone has to write systematic approach. Like if you're seeing the C and Java program, that how developer program, student writes completely garbage. Anywhere they write anything, so it is very difficult to understand. But Python is enforced to write the code in systematic fashion. It's not for systematic fashion actually. It's a part of syntax. They have removed the blocks, removed the curly braces. Okay, and they've used in this particular. So for if else statement, for loop, while loop, functions, classes, everywhere the concept is common. In this way, you have to write it. Okay, let's go for the loop control statement. For in case of loop control statement, Python is having two kinds of loops. First loop is the while loop, and second is the for loop. There is no do while loop present, no repeat loop, nothing there, and completely different syntax, different way of execution that is present in the Python for loop and while loop. Let's take one example each. How can I execute? How can I perform operation with the for loop and the while loop. So first of all, while loop. While loop is a universal loop. Universal. Universal means all languages contain while loop in the same way. That while and condition. So while that condition is not satisfied, we'll go to execute the required step. Okay. So when I want to execute some part of the code, repetitive number of times, I'll be making use of the loop control statements there. Okay, so let's see a small program here. With the help of that, we can understand the concept of the while loop. Okay, just a minute. Share. Okay. So I'll create a variable count is equal to 0. I want to print my name 10 number of times. So let's declare a variable count equal to 0. Then I'll increment count by 1 plus 1 till 10. Okay, and we'll print my name also along with it. So that will be while count is less than 10. Correct? Again, colon, when I press enter, it is coming tab automatically. Because while is also block. So I required indentation here. Statement that you have to write, that will be in the same column again. So while is a loop condition, while that condition is true, then only you have to execute this statement. So let's see the statements. So let's print my name, print key. And one more thing, count should be incremented. Plus equal to 1. This is assignment operator. Okay. See, count is equal to 0, while count is less than 10, print my name and count by 1. So plus 1, again go to check the condition, print it, plus 1, again plus 1, plus 1, plus 1, like loop. It will get executed unless and until the condition is not becoming false. So when it becomes false, condition becomes false, it will be terminated. When it becomes false, when value of count becomes 10, 10 is less than 10 is false. Let's check the output. It's just a universal loop. Remember, every language contains the similar way of use for the while loop. See this. This is the output. 10 times my name is printed on the screen. Okay, while loop. And let's go for the for loop. Let's see the for loop. For loop is a kind of loop which is not like I equal to 0, I is less than 1, I plus plus something. Not for it. For loop works on a collection of elements, on a group of elements. A group of elements. How exactly it works? How to perform the operation? Let's see that. I'll show that on terminal so you can get an idea how exactly the for loop is working. Immediately we can see the output. Okay, so it will be easy to understand in that case. Just check it out. Now let's come here. For loop. For loop iterate through a sequence of elements. See, for example, for n in. Okay, after that you have to give some sequence of elements. Colon, print, n. See, what's taken here? The for is taken in n first. For and in are the keywords. For is also a keyword. In is also a keyword. First 4 is taken, print. 3 is taken, print. 1 print, 2 print, 5 print, 6 print, 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 print. Okay, all they are taken over here. In this way, they are printed. In a sequence of element, any kind of sequence can be there. Any kind of sequence will be there. For example, print my name. So let's use here. And from that name, I want to take 1 by 1 characters. Okay. For n in name. Okay. And then let's print at n. See this. So first is taken T print, then U print, S, H print, A print, R print, and check it out this way. So it iterates through sequence of elements. Wherever the sequence are there, we'll take first, second, third, fourth. Okay, like that. I want to print my every character 10 number of. See this. N into 10. See this. First multiply by 10, second multiply by 10, third 10, fourth 10, fifth 10, like, okay, in this way. So this is how iteration through the sequence is done. So in data analytics also, we require the for loop somewhere sometimes, or some of the algorithms also very commonly require the for loop to perform operation for a fixed set of outputs. Okay, repetitively, remember. So it's part of practice to understand this particular concept. Many things are there that we need to get from the particular concept which are present in almost all kind of languages. Yes, this is also present there, but very precise and small syntax that's present the Python programming for this kind of the control structure. Along with that, we are having two more keywords, break keyword and continue, exactly same way if you're knowing C, but they are not required to understand. Break is to terminate the loop, continue is to continue with the next iteration of the loop. That's we have to remember. So these are the control statements. Let's go for the third part, that is data structures that we require here in Python programming language. So there are many data structures that we generally use in Python. And what are that? Let's see this. Python data structures. Data structure actually are the ways to store the data. What are the ways that they follow to store the data? They're the data structures. Maybe in if you're knowing data structure like stack, queue, or linked list, graphs, different ways that they follow to store the data. Now, whenever you have to use the data, so we need to focus on the data structures. So 4 different data structures that Python carries, which are shown over here: list, tuple, and dictionary. Okay, so there is no array data structure present. Tomorrow I'll show the array. Array is present in the packages actually, not in basic Python. Array is present. So list, tuple, set, and dictionary, which are the commonly data structures where we can store the data in a collection format. But everyone contain their own property. Based on that property, we are going to make use of these particular data structures in the code. See, there are some separators used. Separators means in these brackets, we store the data. So it becomes that type. For example, square bracket, if you store the data, it is a list. Parenthesis, tuple, round brackets, that is tuple. If you store in curly braces, set. And in curly braces, if you have a colon, that is called as a dictionary. Okay. So with this, we can store the data, and let's see how what differences that they carries in all of them. I'll just elaborate the difference first. List is the set of elements, homogeneous element. Okay, sorry, data with different types, not exactly same type. Homogeneous not there. So different kind of the data can store in single variable. It's called as a list. Mutable means content of that list can be changed. That is list. Second, any kind of the data again stored in a tuple. Many operations are possible, but it is immutable. Means content of tuple can't be changed. Third, okay, so that is the only difference that list and tuple carries: mutability and immutable. Third is the set. Set store unique or distinct values only. If a value is repeated for n number of times, it is not taken in consideration. If it is repeated for n number of times, not taken in consideration. Remember. Last is dictionary. The fourth one. Dictionary contains the data in the form of a key value pair. But let's see practically how exactly it is done. So let's share my screen again. Yeah. Let's go step by step. So first of all, let's go for the list data structure here. So let's see list. Particular x is equal to, in square bracket you put the values. See, so I print it. Yeah, 12, 6, 3, 7, 4, 8, 9, 0. Okay, like that. So, and if you see the data type of it, this is the type that you can check. List values are stored in the form of square bracket. Okay, and if you want to access them, I can use the indexing method like 0, 1, 2, 3 onwards, like x of 0. See, x of 0, so 0th element, means first element, which is 0th element, I am accessing from here. Okay, 0th element is accessed. Then this is one element, 2, 3, 4, 5 onwards, we will go. Okay, multiple elements are present. If I want to replace it, I want this value to be 10. So check it out. So 0th element was 12. I have replaced that with 10. So not only that, I can append, can join, concatenate, many things are there. See, all their meaning is same, but operations are different. Extend is also there. Sort, reverse, pop, delete, remove is also present. That all operation you can do on this kind of the data. And it's not possible, not compulsory to store same kind of the data inside it. We can store different kind of the data also inside it. Okay, different kind of it means, see this. And remember, all the data structure contains same feature there. It's not compulsory that same kind of data should be present. Different kind of the data can be present inside it. In this way, it's possible. Check this output. The data collection of elements which is mutable, changeable. You can change the contents. Many methods also we can apply onto it. Also very regularly required data science applications. The list data structure where the values are stored in the pair of the square brackets. Okay, remember this. Now, let's go for another. If I put this value in the pair of parentheses, round brackets, see this, so printed there. And if you see the type of it, tuple. If you're knowing BBMS, tuple, it's not like that, but it is type, which is tuple. And operations that we do on the tuple are also same that list contains, but only one operation is possible, not possible. That is, you can't change the content of tuple. Okay, so for example, x of 0, see. And many more are there. Like in operator, we have seen, like I want to check that 4 is present in x or not. Present. True. Okay. Or if you want to find the length, how many elements are present? There's a function called as length that you can see. Apply to list also. How many elements? 9 are present inside it. But it is immutable, means you can't change the content of that particular tuple variable here. So just like this, if you want to say 78, you will see type error. Tuple object does not support item assignment. Error. So 78, I can't store it. So in data science, whenever you have to create a data structure which is not allowing the modification of the data inside it, this is what we use a tuple. Okay, values are stored in a parenthesis. The second type of the data structures. Many functions, methods are present to the tuple data structure also that we can use to perform the operations with. Third is the set, basically. Okay, so set is equal to, in curly braces we write these values. I have stored all of these values. How many are there? More than 12, 13 values are present. And when I printed this S on the screen, so it's containing 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So 3 is repeated. 3 is present only one number of times. You can see. 4 is present 1, 2 number of times. 5 is present 1, 2, 3, 4 times. 6 is present 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. But see, when I printed it, it is printed directly as it is on the screen. Means without repetition, distinct values are there, unique values only are extracted and only they are printed. That is what the property of a set. In data science, in classification kind of algorithm, we use this data structure very commonly to store the data inside it. Okay, in this way, distinct data we have to store. So make sure property is that, and wherever to store the distinct values, so that time we'll be making use of this particular concept here. Okay. Fine. Now fourth data structure. The fourth data structure is dictionary. Let's see. I'll show type of it first. Type of S. See, set. Type is set. And the fourth one is now dictionary. D is equal to, now let's write in the set of curly braces again, which is also very commonly data structures in the data science applications. So let's see, 2. See, so what I've done here, the values are stored in a pair of key and values. This is a key value pair, key value. So 2 is the key, 56 is the value, 7 is the key, 100 is the value, 3 is the key, 289 is the value, 12, 34 is the value. Okay, so key and values are separated by a colon. Okay, key value pairs. It's like index in the list or index in the arrays basically. So you can print it. And if I want to access the second element, see how it is accessed. But third is not present there. Third key error will be shown. Sorry, 3 is present. 289 is there. Maybe fourth is not there. See, it will show the error. So if you want to access that value, you have to use the key. It's like a dictionary, original dictionary. If you have seen, exactly the same way it works over there. If you want to check anything inside dictionary, you go to the page number. So key is a page number. Page numbers are unique. You can access it, and if you want to replace, it's also possible. So for example, at fourth position, I want to sorry T. Check this. At fourth position, you post 89 here. See, it's added. And if you want to append something, like in fifth position also, you have to put something like in this way. So this is dictionary, that data structure that I can use to store the values in the form of a key value pairs. See this. The data type of the variable D is dictionary. So dictionary store the data in the form of a key value pairs. Okay, in this way, where key can be any data type and value can also be of any data type. Okay, it is not compulsory, it should be integer, it can have string also. Okay, let's see. For example, A is equal to can have, okay, what is A for what? Apple. Like this. Okay. K for right. Value should be present in quotes, but remember that. Y. C. Correct. And if you want to access the K, right. This is data structure dictionary, where the values are stored in the form of key value pair, where key can be anything, with any data type, and value can also be of any data type. You can access it by using a key. And if you want to append, that's possible. For example, I want to append zebra. So let's go for the zebra. Yeah, now see, zebra is added at the end of this particular dictionary, the fourth data structure. So whenever any kind of requirement in data science arises, when I have to use the data in this way, so I can use a very commonly used list, everything. It's like a garbage, everything you can put it there. But we can change also. Just to that we have tuple, but tuple is not possible to change. It is immutable. Where we use basically tuples are used to return value from the function, which are not possible to change. Or for example, in network programming, we pass the IP address and port number through the network. If someone hacks it, it's not possible to change it. Okay, or many different things are there. Many locations are the function parameters also there can be passed in the form of a tuple, set of values which are non-modifiable. Third is the set, where we can store the distinct values, unique values inside it. And the fourth one, dictionary, which is shown over here, we store the user-defined indexing, or the key value pairs basically, which is stored. We store the values in that particular format. Whenever we require, we can make use of this particular concept by this particular way here in this. Okay, this is the data structures in Python. We are making use of a data structure in Python by this way. So wherever you require, tomorrow I'll show you how to use that one. Now let's go for the next simple important concept, and that's called as the function. Okay, so function is actually functions are the base for all kind of programming, whether it is object-oriented programming or the procedure-oriented programming. It doesn't matter. Everywhere we are having the existence of the functions there, and functions are used to perform some operations. Okay, what exactly we have function? The block of code. It contains a name. We can pass a value to it. We can expect some result from it, and perform operations accordingly. Okay, so in Python, functions are declared by using a def. Now, especially I have taken this topic because when you have to declare your own class, we require the methods, and methods also declared by using a def function. So two kind of functions are present in Python. The first functions are built-in functions. Built-in means you already Python contains some function, like print is a function, type is a function. Okay, which we generally used. And along with that, we are having the second category called as built-in functions. Sorry, user-defined function that we can define, we can perform the operations on. Okay, first of all, I'll show few built-in functions, and then we'll go for user-defined functions. Built-in functions, there is no special help available. You just have to read some books or get the help from the original documentation of Python to see the list of all the basic functions present. But user-defined function you can create by your own, and user-defined function we can reuse also in other programs also. So first of all, I'll show built-in functions which are commonly used by many data science applications, and then we'll go for understanding our. Let's go for built-in functions. Just a minute. Okay. Now let's declare a data structure list. Okay. See, I want to find how many elements are present inside. So I'm using a len function for this. I want to check type of this X. So I'm using a type function. Function means name, and in round parentheses we pass the values inside it. Okay. I want to I want to print it. So print is a function. I want to find maximum from it. I want to find a minimum from it. I want to perform addition of all, or I want to perform sorting of it. See, functions. Already predefined tasks are present. That predefined task will be performed on the parameter that you pass over here. I want another parameter, like sorted is done there, but I'll do reverse. True. See, how it is reverse sorted like. So many different parameters that also we can pass to the respective functions here. Methods already we have seen, they are connected, like for example, X I've just given. If I want to perform operation like X dot sort. So sort is a method that I can use along with the respective object over here. X dot sort. Many such methods are there. Again, I'll revise one more thing. If you want to see the list of all the methods which we can apply on that variable, I can make use of a dir function. So on X means on list variable, what kind of functions I can apply? So I can use by using dir of X. These are the list functions that I can. Similar to that, tuple, dictionary, set, every variable we can make use of a dir function, and with the help of that list of all the functions, list of all the methods we can see, we can enlist them on the screen by this particular method. This is called as the built-in function. Many built-in functions are there. Now let's go for the second part, that is your user-defined functions. User-defined functions are defined by using the def keyword. Let's see that. I'll share my screen. Now, def. Let's take a simple plain example here, which contains everything almost that we can have here. For example, show. Okay. Now, so function that I've declared, def is a keyword to declare the functions. If you're knowing C and Java functions, almost same way they are present, but here we don't have a data types. That's why data types are not mentioned anywhere. Or let's have add function here. We'll pass X and Y, two parameters. We'll have the result equal to X plus Y and return the result. Okay. Okay, done. This is the function. Wait. Let's get the first number and the second number. Okay, so let's go second number and then print the result. Okay, so here we'll call the function add, pass num1 comma num2. Okay, done. This is the function declared. This is the name of the function. Def is the keyword to define the functions. X and Y are the parameters which are passed. Okay, they are the parameters called as the formal parameters. X and Y, temporary parameters which are local to this respective function. Again, function is a block. I have to write multiple statements inside the particular function. So that's why indentation is followed. Tab, tab, tab are there. You can see this result. Here I have a tab. So one statement is written. Now, whatever argument you pass to this particular formal parameters, that will come here. First number, then second number will be added together, will generate a result, will be stored over here, and then we are returning this result from here. Returning means when you call the function, that function can return a value, and that value we can store somewhere, we can use somewhere, we can print somewhere. Okay, so functions will be in existence here, and after that we will be reading the first number, then second number, and then here I'm calling a function. It's called a function call. This is called a function declaration. Okay. Result, add num1, num2. The first number will be present here, second number here. Perform the addition, will return the result that will be printed in front of it. This is simple user defined function is there. Many properties that user defined functions containing. So whenever you are using some functions libraries in data analytics, there we are going to make use of the things again very regularly, very commonly there. Okay, I'll show that data science also. How do I make use of my own functions? I can perform the operation. This is how user defined functions are created. Function can contain default parameter, it supports recursion, it contains variable number of argument, it contains the non-named, unnamed function can also be created. Likewise, many different properties are there, but common functions are created by this particular method. Just like function, there is one more concept called as module. Module. You might have seen or might be knowing that in C, you can create your own header files. In Java, you can create your own classes, own packages. We can import them and we can reuse that particular things. In Python also, some things we can externally add. Okay, externally add it. For example, I want to find the square root of a number. So in all languages, sqrt is the same function to use to perform the operation. In C, we have math.h header file where we include that header file, and then you can call the sqrt function to perform operations with. Java, we have the packages we import. Okay, java.lang is already imported actually, but we have to import it, java.io, java.awt, like that we are importing, and then after that we can use the functions from the respective packages here. Likewise, in Python, we have modules. If you want to use something externally in the code, so we have to import that module in your code. You have to import that module in your code, and after that I can use it. Let's see simple example how to import the modules and how to use the functions from the particular modules over here. So I can reuse the things again and again for multiple number of times. Okay, many things that we can reuse, and that particular module. So whatever program you have written, you can reuse that program, its functions, variables, classes in another program also. Another program also. That is reusability that we can achieve from the respective statement here. So let's see. For example, I want to find the square root of a number. So first of all, make sure that the function which is required to perform the operation is not present in core Python. We have to import it from the external sources in our code. So let's see, import math. So math is a module. It's a module which contains many functions, variables also that I have to use it. For example, math is imported. Now I want to use the functions from the math module. Math is a predefined module. Okay, just like header files you have C, we are having in C, and Python contains, sorry, Java contains the packages. Here we have the modules here. So math.sqrt. Square root of 45 is 6.70. Sqrt is a function present inside the math module that we have imported and we have printed. So I want to find the log of 45 now. This is a log of 45. I want to find the sine of 45. See this. So module name dot function name that you have to prefer, or some constants also there. I want to use value of pi. See this, pi, or I want to use value of e. Check this. Pi and e are the constants which are present inside the math module, and I want to import it. I want to use it. In this way, you can do it. Not only this, but I can use one more method. That is what we call as the alias method. As m means you are providing a name to that particular module. Okay, that also, this is very commonly used method to import the modules in data science. We are using numerical Python module which contains numpy, np as a name to it. Scikit-learn is there, like many are present. So we are giving alias to it. It's because many functions are there, and very long names will be very tedious to write again and again. So check it out. sqrt, m.sqrt 45. Check this. Okay, or m dot sign off, or m dot pi. Done. Alias are used here, and the last, select import. If you want to import that functions modules, so you can use select import called as from import. So from math import. Okay, from math import, and then specifically provide the thing like sqrt, comma, sine, comma, pi. So three things are imported: sqrt function, sine function, and pi constant. Now advantage here is that I don't have to use the module name now. So directly I can write sqrt of 45. So this is square root of 45. I can directly get it here in this way. Okay. Fine. So everything is imported. Everything directly we can import in this particular way, and we can reuse it. So we don't have to write the module name over there. Okay. So like this is called a selective import. Also, we are going to use it in tomorrow on last day session. This is used. I'll be showing how to import it, how to use it, and perform the operations further on. One more topic is remaining. It will take some time, but our time is almost over. So I'll finish today's session. If you have any doubts or questions, so I'll just check the chat box. I'll answer step by step from the chat box. Just a minute. Okay, so one question is now Python Anaconda. Share the download links of Python and Anaconda. One more thing is there. See, just go to Google. Don't get the link. But python.org and anaconda.com. These two different websites are there. We can directly download it and we can perform further because in live session it's not possible to perform operations. You can try onwards python.org. You can get it from there. Okay, so just a minute. If any other questions.
If the participants
Okay,
are
yeah,
having
Python
any
we use for data
question,
analysis such
they
as
can
machine
mute
learning like artificial,
themselves.
yeah, obviously. That's a part of our session also. Tomorrow I'll show you how to do data analysis using Python by using some packages, very commonly used packages. Machine learning also. Machine learning will be there on last day. And here one more thing is mentioned, part of artificial neural network, ANN. Okay, yeah, it's also part of it. ANN can also be, but ANN is somewhat like advanced machine learning that we can call. You have to learn about neural network completely and then you can write. So complete Python is used for machine learning, all data analysis also, and the artificial neural network also. So remember that. That's what. Yeah. Next question is, what is the role and use of Python in data analysis process? So two things are there: programming language and technology. See, programming language and technology. Web development is a technology, and language we use is Java or HTML for designing, CSS, JavaScript. Correct. So for web development, we use that. Android development, you use Java. Okay. Android is a technology. Java is a programming language. So if you want to design that thing in a technology, so we require a programming language. Remember that. So data analysis and data science is a technology. Okay. And Python is a programming language to perform operations with. So Python is a programming language to write the code for data analysis, machine learning, artificial intelligence, natural language processing, business intelligence, like all. They are the part of data science itself. Okay. Tomorrow I will show you what is data science actually, what exactly it contains, and then we'll proceed further to write the codes in Python there. Okay. If any other, yeah.
Participants are requested to fill the feedback form. The link will be active for 10 minutes only. If any participant want to ask
I'll
the
share the
question,
links.
they can unmute themselves or raise your hands.
Check the Anaconda's link and Python interpreters links also. Check this out. Both are shared on the chat box. You can download Python from there. Remember, it should be continuously in practice. Should be in the practice, so it will be easy to understand. It's not that much difficult. If you're knowing C and Java learning takes too much time. Python is not the case. I learned Python within 2 days only. Actually, I was knowing Java and C perfectly. That's why it was possible there. But if those who are not knowing the programming knowledge, they can also easily learn the Python programming language. If any other questions are there, so you can unmute yourself or you can ask the question directly also.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you for your valuable session. I request all the participants to fill the feedback form, and all are requested to join tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. sharp using the same link.